It'll happen because I said so. And, what I wanted to talk about is the act of kind of taking agency over what you wanted to do and, really believing that it can happen. I mean, there's so many people out there who, their first thought of taking on a daunting task or something that might be super daunting for them is that, the initial thoughts of doubt and being like, "Oh, I can't do that. Oh man, that's going to be super hard to do. Like, how can I even do that?" And it can become really difficult and it can seem extremely daunting. So that's why, I'm making this video just talking about if you wanted something to happen in your life, you can't just expect it to kind of come along and be presented in front of you. You're going to have to really take the agency and be like, if I want to achieve this goal, I'm going to have to put in the work. Like I literally caught myself today, doom scrolling on my phone and not reading a book that I had to do for an assignment because I was procrastinating and I was like, oh well, I don't feel like doing it. I that's such a big problem with people in my generation where we want to be able to feel something in order to do it. Like, oh, I want to feel this and then I can do it. I want to feel motivated, so then I'll do it. The problem with that is that if you have the biggest dreams in the entire world, you can't expect for stuff to happen like that. If you have to wait for a moment where you feel motivated or feel like doing something to actually do it, it'll never come true because there's people out there, and I'm not talking about comparison, whatever, forget about comparison. I'm talking about how there's going to be people who I guess are better, I guess it's not really defined by like a single straight line like that, but it's in terms of you have to be willing to put in the work and you kind of have to just kind of just really go out there. I think that's my main thing. There's so many people, including me, who are stuck in their fear or want to feel something in order to do something else, to do an action, read a book, go on a walk, exercise, work out, um, like research, all that. It's going to take a certain amount of action. And that's the biggest problem because the people who are defined as great, they I think there's been many encounters with themselves where they were like, I don't feel like doing this, but I'm going to do it anyway. I mean, you hear these quotes all the time talking about how all the great people, they never quit and they just did it when they didn't feel like it. And I think there's a lot of truth to that. Because if you're always waiting for moments of greatness, wow, I feel extremely motivated. My workflow is crazy. I'm in flow state. You have to be realistic with yourself because although that flow state and being hyper focused and being like really motivated to do your work is great, you kind of have to realize that that motivation and that flow state isn't going to stay for the entirety of what you're trying to do. It's only going to stay for a split second. It's not going to endure for however long you're doing or committing yourself to a certain goal or a dream. I mean, and it's kind of hard for me to say right now. I haven't found, I guess, necessarily success, but the main reason for that is because I haven't really put myself out there except for making these videos. I mean, I could talk about and brag to all the people, oh, I'm screenwriting, I'm different, I'm doing screenwriting. Look, I'm going to be a writer director. And I mean, I guess that's cool to say. I mean, not a lot of people my age are doing that, but at the same time, maybe I'm LARPing about it because I haven't really I guess made any material or kind of, physical work that people can actually, you know, watch and be like, oh, wow, this kid is crazy. He's doing all these great things. Oh my gosh, blah, blah, blah. Um, but you can shift. You can shift and be like, oh my gosh, I want to be amazing. So what's it going to take? So that's the main point of this video. I just want to talk about I'm going to make it true because I said so. Because there's going to be a bajillion people in the world who are going to try to tell you other things than what you want to do. If you have a certain goal, a certain dream, there's going to be a million different people and a million different reasons to tell yourself and people telling you that you can't do it just because, maybe they tried and they failed, or think about the money aspect, and all of those things are true to a certain extent. But, you know, I still am living by the fact that if you want something to happen in your life, and if you want to make that significant change, number one, you can't wait for this moment to happen. Spur of the moment. Oh my gosh, crazy, crazy, crazy. It's not going to happen like that. It's unrealistic, extremely unrealistic for that to happen. I mean, if you're just walking on the street and you're like, "Oh, I have to be motivated to walk." You're not going to be getting anywhere. You're just going to like sit on a park bench. I guess you could think of it like that. Walking is pretty simple, and we don't really, it's not mentally straining. So then you have to treat your work like you're walking, because you're not going to go be going fast all the time. And I'll even treat it like this. Creative work and I guess motivation can be treated as a jog or a sprint. You can't sprint for an extended amount of time before you start getting extremely tired. Well, where you could walk the same amount of distance and not, be as strained or, physically tired. So, man, that's great. I just realized that. If you treat your creative work or whatever you're trying to achieve, just anything, if you're treating it like a sprint 99% of the time, or if you expect that you're going to be sprinting 99% of the time, it's extremely unrealistic. So, on two ends of the coin, you have to live in reality, but you can also live in the aspect of, I'm not willing to accept, you know, like the situation that I'm in, and I'm willing to change it. And there's a certain part of me where it's like, oh, well, easier said than done. But then you talk to, you look at all these hyper successful people or people who have found success in the industry, and, a lot of them were either like, this works or I go broke, or, blah, blah, blah. And, it's kind of hard for, it's hard to produce that type of discipline. It's extremely hard. I mean, it's extremely hard for me, and I'm talking about it. There's just certain things in your life that kind of have to not necessarily change, but they kind of have to shift. Because if you're trying to sprint, okay, go try and sprint and see how far that gets you. But if you kind of treat it like, and not even necessarily walking, you don't have to like do one thing of work and be like, oh, I'm done today, I'm so tired. Well, maybe it could be, a light jog or something along the lines of that. Like, I guess my mindset more recently has been, as long as, or not even as long as I'm doing work, as long as I'm taking the steps in order to achieve my goals, it's a lot better than just sitting around waiting for a spur of the moment motivation to come. Like, I'll use this as an example. I was trying to come up with a couple log lines for something I could, just write as a little project or something like that, or as a short film. And I was just sitting in my chair, with the lights off, just trying to figure out log lines that I could just kind of generate. And I was like, I need this state of the art idea, this crazy motivation. I was like, hone in, flow state, the log line will come. Well, it's extremely unrealistic for state of the art idea to come. I mean, I think we get caught up in looking at the finished result. And I've said this in all of my other videos. We get caught up in the finished result, so then it paralyzes us from making, making the art or the craft or achieving things. It's paralysis to the greatest extent. So, in this video, I just kind of wanted to kind of dump my brain out about that, and about the fact that if I want something to happen, and if my mindset is there, and if I want it to be there, I'm going to have to be working in times where I feel 100% unmotivated. And I'll be working in times where I'm kind of motivated, and I'll be working in times where I feel like I'm on fire and motivation is coming, you know, in all directions. And it's like, oh, I have this idea, boom, I'll execute it. But it's a process, and a lot of people want it to be like this. And, I'm trying to condition myself to accept that and be willing to understand that in order for this dream, success, whatever, to happen, I got to do it. Bottom line, it has to get done. The work has to be put in. It's not like I'm going to wake up magically and all the ideas will come to me and it's like, wow, that felt so easy. I put in no work. Well, no, you're going to have to put in the work every single day, whether you like it or not. And, I think it's gonna get harder, obviously, but you know, I'm ready for it. Like the excitement is overshadowing, maybe the hardships or the sleepless nights or, the times where I feel like I can't produce anything and I feel the most uncreative. I don't know. I'm just kind of like, explaining how I feel in the process of what I'm doing and like maybe it'll work out, maybe it doesn't, but I don't even care. I just want to, create and just, you know, it's going to work. It's going to work. I don't want to accept the fact that it won't work because I believe in myself. It's the self-belief. There's so many people out there who haven't made it because maybe they didn't believe in themselves a little bit more. Maybe they were capable, but there was someone less capable who, trusted the process or something like that, and it maybe ended up working out for them. I mean, maybe. I'm not 100% sure I don't really know many people who have had that situation or those circumstances, but, maybe. But I'm excited. I'm extremely excited. And like more recently, I've been kind of getting not necessarily writer's block, but ideas haven't been flowing to me. And I keep talking about, oh, when's the next original idea? When is this going to happen? In reality, probably not. I don't know. I don't really know. But it's great. It's great because in the times where I have no ideas, that's part of my process. That's part of what's kind of going to need to happen in order for me to get better. I mean, if you don't practice something and then expect to be a professional, it's delusional and kind of insane. So, that's the video. I have no idea, you know, how I'm kind of going to find my way into, you know, getting into the industry, I guess, but I'm not willing to quit. And I know that if I'm consistent enough and if I believe it's going to happen, which it will, sky's the limit. So that's the video. Um, yeah, that's the video.